Good evening. Today is Wednesday, December 4th. I wanted to make a second video on my thoughts on the election. In the last video, I spoke a little bit about the role that entertainment and media had upon this election. So I wanted to extend a little bit of what we were talking about in that video. So um, so I do think, as I said in the first video, that the amount of entertainment that we consume as a society has certainly affected us in mass, right? Everyone knows how popular it is to consume large quantities of media on a daily basis. Some people's hobbies is just to, um, watch, what do they call it? When you're watching like a series, binge watching a series. People do that as hobbies, right? And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I do think that it has affected, the way that we think as a society. So I do think that a lot of a lot of the media that is produced, just the movies, the series, television shows, even the news, everything that we kind of consume to an extent, a lot of it is produced by what we can call the ruling class, right? So the ruling class are those people, or more specifically corporations, who own very large amounts of wealth in comparison to the rest of the population in the United States. So I do think that those at the top who own such a large portion of the money supply in the United States have a vested interest to to continue the way that our systems are being run right now. So I think a lot of people in the working class, the middle class, and even below the middle class, we all recognize how difficult things are, how hard they are. We recognize that our money is lasting less than it used to, right? If you're making the same amount of money today that you were making in the 1990s, it doesn't last as much as it used to, right? $100 today is nowhere near the value that $100 was in the year 2000, in the year 2005, right? So we recognize how hard things have gotten, right? And people are voicing their concerns through their votes, sort of saying that we need a change in our society because things have gotten too expensive. You have people who have a college degree, who have a full-time job, who sometimes can't even provide for themselves or provide for a family even, right? So I do think that the ruling class has a vested interest in keeping things the way that they are now, because our system in the United States is working very well for the top maybe 5% of like economic earners in the United States, like for CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies, the economy is better than it has been, ever has been. They're making more money today than they used to in the 90s and in the early 2000s. We hear about CEOs getting 200, 300% raises, right? And making 500 times more than the people that work for them, you know? So I would say that I would consider those people to be like the ruling class, you know, the ones that want things to continue the way that they are, right? Because this capitalist system is working very well for them, right? So I would say that the ruling class, uh, the narratives that we are consuming through movies, through all the digital media that we consume, a lot of it is being financed by like top earners in the United States, right? They finance things themselves, movies that they want to put out, things that they believe in. So a lot of the narratives that we are consuming are the ideas of the ruling class, right? So they want us to believe that, you know, the system that we have, the structures that we have in place are actually working for us, that the way that the United States is, it's a great country, everybody has the same opportunity, everybody has the freedom to choose what they want to do. All of these different ideas, like follow your dream, all of these different ideas, um, I would say are kind of like ideas that are coming from the top down, right? And they want us to believe that all of these things are possible, that things are good, that we have opportunities, that we have freedom, right? When first of all, it's kind of not true, you know, and second of all, there are many other better ways of running things than they're being run right now, right? So I'm getting at that I think a lot of people are under the influence of mass media. You know, they are very much convinced by the ideas that people at the top are sort of disseminating to society because they have the means to produce media, right? Most of us in the working class and, you know, middle class, lower than middle class, we don't have the means necessarily to tell the stories that we want to tell. We don't have the means many times to convince large quantities of people of our ideas, right? So as a result, many times the ideas of the working class, the things that we believe in, things that we would like to see change, those ideas are not being disseminated very widely, you know, because we don't have the means to do so. We can't finance a documentary or a Hollywood movie about, you know, about how hard it's become for the working class, maybe, you know, recently or in the last few decades. So I do think that a lot of people voted um, in the way that the ruling class wanted them to vote, right? I think a lot of people are convinced by the movies that they watch, by all of the what we can call propaganda that we consume through media on a daily basis, and that it has definitely affected our freedom of choice, our freedom of thought, especially. You know that we are all very much under the influence of such a strong system of digital media, right? It's almost impossible to get away from it. It's in the fingertips of our hands. We have TVs in our house. We have our laptops. We have all our many devices through which we consume a lot of these narratives, right? So I do think that the election turned out to be, it was certainly turned out to be what many people at the top wanted it to be. And they convinced us in mass to vote according to the interests of like the higher top 5%, of people, right? The way that they would want the election to have gone is the way that it went, you know. So anyways, that's just a quick thought, quick video on this little thoughts on my elections. Thank you for watching.